Hello everyone, my name is Jonah Carter. I'm the registrar for Alcid Transportation Museum, and today I'm going to be giving a quick summary on the Model T assembly line. So Ford Motor Company's Model T was intended by company founder Henry Ford to be a car that anyone could afford. First, similar to the Cadillac, it was priced around $850, which was too expensive for that goal. Ford realized he would need a more efficient way to produce the car in order to lower the price. Ford's first step in achieving this was in restructuring the development of Model Ts around interchangeable parts. It meant you could remove the same part on two different Model Ts, switch them, and they would work just the same. To speed up workflow, development needed to be arranged so that one task finished, another began. To do this, Ford installed a massive conveyor system to transport parts to the worker. Each worker was trained to do just one step on building the Model T on the assembly line, then wait as the line brought to the next car, where they would repeat the task. This process made it so any worker could be trained to do any job, which also made workers replaceable. This initial restructuring of the development of the Model T was not without its issues. Workers could count on $2.25 per day, but it was not enough to maintain a stable workforce. Hours of performing the same task was difficult, and the work was also dangerous. These two factors resulted in very high turnover when this assembly line system was first developed. And turnover was high to the point of disrupting production and increasing costs of development, which prevented Ford from selling his cars at the low price he wanted. To combat high turnover and boost morale, Henry Ford announced the famous $5 a day wage. Ford's plan doubled standard wages and sent shockwaves through the automotive industry. The increased wage plan worked and led to a stable workforce in his company. Ford soon produced as many as 8,000 Model Ts in a single day, and the price for a brand new car dropped to under $300. In order to stay competitive, other automotive companies followed suit. They increased wages and began using moving assembly line. Henry Ford's assembly line system transformed the automotive industry forever. And now I'll turn it over to Grounds Vehicle Conservator Warren Kincaid.
Ford Motor Company was actually Henry Ford's third automobile company. The first one was Detroit, not to be confused with the Detroit Automobile Company, which came later, not his. And then there was the Ford Company, which was in the late 1800s. And then in 1903, the Ford Motor Company was established with 12 backers, and there was a 13th that wanted in but was denied because they were superstitious and they didn't want 13 backers back in the company. Ford himself had already made quite a reputation in racing and construction of automobiles. Racing back then was kind of like football today. Everybody knew what was going on in the racing world. And he had won a big race against Alexander Winton, if anybody here remembers what the Winton car was all about, Winton 6 and all that stuff. And so anyway, in 1903, he got started with a Model A, and then a Model B and a C, and he went up through the alphabet. A lot of letters just died on the drawing board. He went up through a K is of note. It was a big 6-cylinder car. He didn't want to build it because his goal always was a car for the masses, and that one was a high-priced $2,500 to $3,000 car. That was huge money back then. And so then there was the N, R, and S, and if you ever see pictures of the N, R, and the S, you can see the progression being made toward the T. And then after that, when the Model T was done in 1927, and he was going to produce a new car at the request of his son and his wife and others, I imagine. And he went back, he said that the new car was going to be so revolutionary, he was going to start all over again with the Model A. So now you got the Model A of 1928, 29, and 30. And you actually have a B and a C, and then they trash canned letters after that and started calling cars like the Deluxe and all those sort of things. So in the N, R, and S, was a 4-cylinder car. He was in a battle with a fella named George Selden over a patent. And George Selden had patented the entire automobile concept, where you couldn't build a car unless you bought royalties from George Selden, which made him a rich man. And a lot of cars bought into that so they could legally manufacture a car. Now, Henry Ford didn't like that. He didn't want to be beholden to anybody. He refused to sign on to the Selden patent, and the NR and S were being built on with the Selden patent in place. George Selden sued him. Henry Ford lost. He continued to build cars, thinking that he's either going to build cars or go to jail, I imagine. And so anyway, he got sued again and won, or maybe he brought the lawsuit. I'd have to look into the history, but he won that. And that gave him the foundation to start on the Model T. His financial backers wanted him to build big cars like the K, but Henry, having just gotten his way through the George Selden fight, said, no, we're going to do inexpensive cars. And the N, the R, and the S were about $650 cars, but the market was increasing. The Model T was going to cost more money. Still a lot less than major manufacturers, but less. So the Model T came out. Jonah had said 850. I've seen price tags on the ones with the extras, like lights and a top and all that good stuff, at a little over 1,000. But you could get accessories. So he started building the Model T, and the assembly line really hadn't started yet. He designed the Model T and started building it in what's called the Piquette Avenue plant, which was right in the middle between that and River Rouge. So he started building these cars in a station. He would build in a station. The parts would come to the car, right? And they would build it, and you need a team of technicians to do this. And so looking at the meat industry, which was using an assembly line at the time, as beef would come down chain link conveyors, and they would cut pieces off and package them, and off they would go to the cities. I don't know who came up with the idea. This is one of the things about Ford Motor Company history, is take it all with a grain of salt. If you start digging into it deeply, you'll find out that Henry Ford did not build all of his Model Ts the color of black. He did not invent the the automobile. A lot of people out there in the world thinks that Model T is the first car ever built, but not by a long shot. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. I don't know who came up with the idea, but he started building his Model T at the Piquette Avenue plant using the on station. When the new plant was being built, I think that's when they started instituting their moving assembly line. Crude at first, but it taught them that they could build cars cheaper and in less time. So we continued to develop it, and they could trim a Model T down to the cheapest. In 1925, you could buy a Model T brand new for $250. That's called a loss leader. It actually cost him more to build the car than to sell it. And because the accessories that you bought were so good to have, that not too many of those bare bone Model Ts were built and sold. The accessories were, you could get an electric starter, demountable rim so you can take the tires off in a hurry, the battery, a generator, and a spare tire rim, but you didn't get the tire. And that cost you $75 to get that accessory. That's pretty good. Buy a car that would have cost $260 and put a $75 upgrade on it. And that's pretty cheap, even by today's standards. Some mathematician out there could tell me, what does $325 in today's money be? That would be interesting to know. What would a car have to cost today to equal that price? To roll a Model T off out of a dealer floor was about $400, right in that range, depending on what you got with it. And they sold like hotcakes. They were the best car on the market for the price, obviously. They were made with vanadium steel. Henry Ford was off at some event and met the German man, Krupp. Anybody here Ever heard of Krupp Steel? Krupp Steel. All right. Krupp was coming out with vanadium steel. This was 3 times as in strength and flexibility. You can take a Model T front axle, bend it into a knot, and straighten it back out. It's still fine. So there you had your Cadillac that wasn't using Krupp steel, which was 2 times, 3 times weaker going down the road than a Model T. And you'll see all sorts of videos of Model Ts going through crazy terrain and still coming out the other side. But they were rattly, they were noisy, they were smelly, but for the price, you just couldn't go wrong. Kind of like the Volkswagen Bug through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Similar thing. They just sold zillions because you could walk in and buy one. You wouldn't have to worry about ruining it. You'd go buy another one. The country is still full of junk Model Ts. And most of them run through here at auction time. So anyway, what's been developed here, and Megan, you're going to do a little talk?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I don't want to tread on your toes.
No, I was
Okay. Well, what we have here at the museum, we see a lot of Model T parts come in, and a lot of them are unusable as far as automobiles go. But we can paint them and make pieces look pretty and whatever. And this it represents for the youngsters the Model T assembly line. Here we have just the bare chassis, front and rear end. Here we have the bare chassis painted red, front, rear end, and engine. And then we have a half-together Model T with a wooden pickup body on it. That would not have been stock for Ford, but there's the engine in it. And then finally over there, there's a depot hack that is a fully together car. All this stuff was done by volunteers here. So if we're standing around looking for something to do when we don't have anything to do, which is very rare, but we can do stuff like this. There are projects in the works that we say, well, how about doing this? Or we can do that. Both the truck body and the depot hack body, those were built by Model Ts here. We use the depot hack body for given rides, but now it's part of this display. The Ford history is extremely interesting. One question that I get is every Model T black? The answer is no. Up to 1914, they came in a couple of colors, and then in 26 and 27, they were offered in more of a variety because DuPont had come out with automotive paints and colors, and pressure from the buying public. A lot of the changes that were made in the Model T was pressure from other companies building cars and the buying public. Another thing I wanted to mention in this, especially on the assembly line deal, we're going through an era here in this country where women were left out and this and that and the other thing. Well, Henry Ford was an equal opportunity employer. He was also a racist, unfortunately, but not against women. And women worked mostly in assembling the electronics that were in the Model T. Coil boxes, coils, if they weren't being bought outside the company, the magnetos, all of that, and ignition switches and all that. And he paid the women just as much as he paid the men, $5 a day, which was huge money back then. Everybody wanted to work for the Ford Motor Company. They would line up at the gate by the thousands to see if they could get a job for the day in Ford Motor Company. But the flip side is it was extremely boring and dangerous work. You're putting one bit on an automobile every day for 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day, whatever it was. Because Henry Ford actually was instrumental in getting the 8-hour workday because he and Edison installed electric lighting inside the plants. And Edison had a generating plant at Henry Ford's home. They were tight. And so anyway, the women were treated quite well. A picture of one of the N models, the first of that N, R, and S series, there's a picture of 2 women driving around, And I did a little research, and one was his wife, and the other one was his top secretary at that time. And they're driving this Model N. And I think that's significant that you would see that picture that went out to the public. If you look at some of the advertising down in the shop, Ford Model T advertising that I've collected over the years, a lot of them were with women in the picture. Free you from the kitchen, you can get in your Model T and enjoy the fresh air. Of course, the Model T did a lot against the fresh air, but be that as it may, you could get off the farm, out in the countryside, have your picnic, freedom. And that was the big change before the computer came along. The Model T was the social change that we went through in this country that was unequaled until the computer came along, my opinion. Megan? This is Megan. She's our head of the STEM department.
So my name is Megan Kestchikman. I'm the education director at the Owl's Head Transportation Museum, and Warren and Jonah have done a very excellent job of explaining the history of the Model T and kind of the functionality of this exhibit. But this exhibit came into an idea from a volunteer and Warren, Jonah, and myself whenever we were coming up with the exhibits for the Science and Industry Center. So the Science and Industry Center was really only supposed to be our classrooms, and then we still had to donate or have an exhibit hall in here. And so I was working with our executive director and working with Warren and Jonah and coming up with how can we have an exhibit hall that benefits the science and industry as well as carries into the history component of our history museum. So we came up with the Science and Industry Center. So this portion of the exhibit hall is to kind of marry over the concept of exploring through hands-on demonstration, but also the build-out process. So a couple of videos ago, we've talked about the Tinker's Garage. And so if you look at when you come into the Science and Industry Center and you kind of look at how the layout is, you see our CAD drawing over there, which is just a concept drawing. It's how everything is laid in together. It's how it's all supposed to fit. It is the side profile of a vehicle and its inspiration. From there, we had an activity where students could then draw out their own inventions. After they kind of had an idea of what their invention would be, they would take it into the Tinker's Garage and they would start building miscellaneous pieces and put it together. And that is to be inspired with all of the vehicles, the drawings, everything that's inside our Tinker's Garage. But then we wanted to incorporate the Lego Derby racetrack as well. So the Lego Derby racetrack has pre-built little chassis. And so the students, we were hoping to have them be able to take the concept of what's on one side with the Lego Derby racetrack and then send it down the racetrack to have the final product come together. So with this Model T assembly line, you have the different pieces laid out to show you step 1, step 2, 3, and 4 with a complete vehicle. And that is used as a learning and teaching tool for our students on field trips and for the general public who come in and play at the Science and Industry Center. You have the basic chassis, no wheels, no engine. Then you have the chassis with an engine, so that's your motor. That's how the vehicle moves. Then you need the body of the vehicle. Where are the people going to sit? Where is the comfortability of everything? And then the final concept is how it all puts and fits together. And that goes into the multiple disciplines that we teach here at the Science and Industry Center. We are not just STEM. We teach art, literacy, we do inventions, we do different types of engineering design process. And this was the idea of how the layout came to be for the Science and Industry Center is you take the concept to the reality to testing the prototype. So that's kind of how everything is, and I give a lot of honor and a lot of credit to Jonah, Warren, and Dennis because they had the idea of putting this up here, and it really plays a huge part into our hands-on component. And slowly but surely we will be trying to add in a hands-on activity to a lot of the exhibits because everybody, when you come to Owl's Head, you want to see the history, you want to see the vehicle and the collection piece, but we also have learned from families and students, they want to understand it, and through understand it's playing, it's tangible, it's a textile project. And so that's slowly what we've established here at the Science and Industry Center is you learn through play. So we have bridged the Owl's Head and the Science and Industry Center into this 4,000 square foot exhibit hall to where you learn the history, but then you get to play and interact with the prototypes. So that is everything that we have here. Thank you.